I got a lamp. KN4EMK from K4ARX. Go ahead, sir.
The CDM has decided that it didn't want to work. Looks like the programming, I have no idea. Every time that I have tested it, instead of switching channels, it changes zones. So I'm going to try to manipulate this some different way.
Yeah, Doug would know better. You might be able to program everything as zones. I don't know if you can put in specific pairs like repeaters as one zone and direct frequency or simplex as another zone, so on and so forth. That would be my input. I'm not really sure, but he would know better.
Roger. Right now I'm actually talking on the CDM from the remote. That's been interfaced, and it does work. It will switch zones based on which function I transmit. So, for example, if I go to function 2, well, it didn't do it that time, but it would switch zones to zone number 2 or whatever corresponding one it is, and switch me over to the rats. Actually, I can probably do that here.
Tubes and parts. Okay, understood. The CDM 1245 or 1275 sounds almost as good in audio output as the rest of them do. So it's almost difficult to tell between the difference.
Tim, could you do me a favor and QSY over to the W4RAT repeater? I just want to test to see if this functionality still works. KN4EMK.
All right, we'll give it a shot. There's no guarantee I can hear that machine, but I'm sure I can hit it from here. K4ARX.
Receive. Kilo November 4 Echo Mike Kilo. QSY to the W4RAT.
I guess that call sign's right, but we're going to give it a shot. Monitor. Monitor's on. I can lower the squelch somehow. I know I've got the power. Okay, this is going to be a challenge for William because I am having trouble hearing that repeater. Make sure I'm tuned right for this thing. I can barely hear it. And all right, standing wave ratio is about as good as it gets, about 1.5 to 1. KN4EMK from K4ARX. No joy. Okay, no copy. K4ARX clear.
K4ARX, KN4EMK.
Yeah, I doubt you heard anything. Could you copy me at all?
I did. I was responding to you, but I don't think you heard me. But I'm not sure. I think there was somebody else that was dead keying over top of us. Because every time that you would key up, there was somebody that sounded like fumbling around with their microphone.
Yeah, probably me. Just making sure the standing wave ratio was accurate. I have to change it between machines. and I got it to an accurate point, but I just could not hear the repeater from my location. It's just because my interior antenna is probably too close to the center of my apartment, and it's not in the same position it used to be out in the window, so I cannot hear the RAS machine like I can hear this one. I'm a lot closer to the MRA.
That's true for both of us, but I have the benefit of having an outdoor day pole, so that works out for me. So I'm one step closer to becoming fully fledged out with my control station here, and then hopefully I can get on the M4PAW repeater. That way I can actually get part of these net control nets and become an NCO. That's the goal, after all.
That's good news. All right, that's what I want to hear. Glad to hear it. Excellent. I think you can do a great job. You definitely will have the station to do it with. Sorry I won't be able to participate on all of them, but that's just the way it goes here. Not complaining, but again, that's the way it goes. I understand they reduced the power output on the RAS machine from 50 watts to 20 watts, and that may be advantageous to how it works. It works for those that have outside antennas, and that's understandable because they can. And you're just dealing with the somewhat restrictions here. It's not necessarily an HOA thing. It's just that I don't have a proper place to put one on the outside. Don't want to hang it off the building. That might break the rules. Don't really have physical access to the roof, although I do have permission. But that's a long ways to ride a lot of coax through a lot of apartments and floors and whatnot just to get up there on top of the elevator shaft.
You're in a bit of a predicament.
Marshmallow.
When I lived in my apartment in Ashland, I was able to use a gutter antenna, basically. I used the gutters on the side of the building as my antenna, and it actually worked pretty well. I did get a little bit of reflected power from a 50-watt radio. It was reflected about maybe about 11 watts or so. Not terrible, but it was still effective. I was able to hit this repeater as well as the RAS repeater very well. I did a lot of simplex back in those days. That was like early 2015, 2016 though.
Good.
It was the last year that I remember living in Ashland.
Good. Yeah, that's not a bad place to communicate from. That's a little more advantageous, I would think. I would think it's probably higher in elevation, but I'm not sure. But what you've got going there sounds fine. Is that J-pole on top of a mast? You have a short tower? Is it hanging from a tree?
It's on a mast that I created using chain link fence poles.
I've done that.
It stands roughly about, I want to say about 40 feet. And then the J-pole itself is another 8 feet or so tall.
Okay, I've got you. I've done that before. I used to live in a place down in Georgia, and there was a chain link fence that took a lot of fallen trees. They had a line of medium-sized pine trees that would, fall in storms or freeze over in ice storms and snap off, fall across the fence. The top rail was just bent like a snake. So I found a couple of them that were relatively straight and took them back to the condo and stuck them through the handrail and the steps. It was just like a wooden deck off the back of the condo. And I could straighten those things that way. I had two masts, 30 feet altogether, and I found, fortunately, some of those gable mounts for TV masts and fastened it to the partition between the condos there. And you could put up my TV antennas. I was watching over the air then. And also put up a quarter wave ground plane antenna for some of the scanners. And I could actually, I take that back, it was a disc cone type antenna. And I could operate 2 meters and 70 centimeters and maybe 6 at the time, I don't remember. But I could do all sorts of things just with that scrap mast off the top of that damaged chain link fence. Timer on the radio. Boop.
Very good.
Strong.
They're pretty cheap. I got
when they're free.
Three or four sections of it, and it only cost me about $40. It works out very well as an antenna mast, and I have the J-pole secured to it using band clamps, and it's worked very well so far because they've been up there for about 3 or 4 years, and they haven't come down yet. So with all the storms that we've had, and it hasn't gotten struck by lightning yet, knock on wood, it is grounded, but luckily none of the band clamps have busted loose, and the J-pole hasn't come down yet. So I did something right. It is anchored in with concrete, probably about 4 or 5 feet of concrete. So that is helping a lot. Well, anyway, I want to clear the air.
Don't do that.
Anybody else wants to use it? I just wanted to do a test. Looks like the CDM is working, but I still have some bugs to iron out. So 373 to you. KN4EMK clear on your final.
Okay, quick note. I don't know if it's my speaker here. This Saber is set. Saber? No. Spectra. I always say that. Anyways, on the Spectra, or the Spectra itself is on some kind of speaker mount. It's almost like it's a transmission hump mount, if you will. And it's got a speaker inside of that where it fires down from below in the face of the radio. Anyways, there seems to be some sort of minor rattle. I don't know if it's that, or if it's a little bit too much gain on your console microphone. Another wire's down. Okay, just thought you might like to know, and I'm capturing it on video so you can watch it later. I don't know if it's going to pick it up, but if it does, you'll be able to hear what I'm talking about.
Alright, I've turned the gain down on the microphone to 6 decibels or so. How does it sound on your end?
It sounds a little more tinny, not quite as full as it was earlier, of course. I think the rattle might be a little gone, so it might be my speaker. I've had to turn up my radio multiple times to hear other stations because everyone is, or not everyone, but many people seem to be soft-voiced when they speak into their microphones.
0 now. I'll copy.
Wow, if that's 0, that's absolutely perfect. I mean, I can hear you just fine at 0. That's really neat.
Alright, so should I just leave it right here? That probably sounds a lot better than what it was before, correct?
Yeah, that might be suitable for amplitude modulation or single sideband, upper or lower, maybe double sideband. But yeah, not necessary on the FM, that's for sure. It sounds good.
Alright, simple. I'll just leave it right here then. 7-3 to you. This is KN4EMK clear.
Alright, very good test. We're going to step aside here. I know there's another one coming up soon. We'll try to get out of their way. We'll be monitoring as well. KN4EMK from K4ARX. Very nice. Can't wait to hear the whole station and everywhere that it works, except for the Rats machine, but, you know, I can't help that. Alright, time for more research. Watching the weather, listening to the fire department. So on and so forth. I hope this lamp thing works out good. Took out some boxes earlier to the, they call it the garbage chute, but we're at the bottom, so technically it's the room where all the dumpsters are. And I use the dumpsters that you manually fill. You just toss the things over into the bin. The compactor's in the other room next door. It's kind of a weird setup, but found a 2-lamp stand here. It's a floor lamp, if you will, and it just so happened to have one LED bulb in there, and it's got one more socket vacant. I could probably put an incandescent, an old incandescent, or an old, relatively old LED light bulb in there, and I'll have 2 lamps. So it's kind of like a street lamp.
RAM, KQ4PTW.
Kind of like a street lamp hanging off a 4 laps. So
Hey,
1
Micah,
point's up, 1
you're
point's
ready. You
wherever.
can QSY over to 145.570.
Where? Oh, Simplex.
Alright, yeah, that sounds good. Let's see, if we can't hear each other, we'll QSY back over here. Copy that. Clear on your final.
I don't know that I have that programmed.
Alright, sounds good. Take full PCW, QSY, 147.570.
147.570.